Welcome back, everyone, for Game 4, where Cloud9 look to secure their spot in the playoffs versus the Golden Guardians. Let's go ahead and take a look at who's setting up on the stage next. Selecting the blue side, it's Cloud9 with Licorice in the top lane, Svenskeren there in the jungle, Jensen in mid, Sneaky bottom, supported by Smoothie, and of course, Coach Reaper.
And that means facing them on the red side, looking for another upset, to the Golden Guardians. The top lane has been playing quite well recently. It's Lourlo. Jungler is Contractz. Played Volibear yesterday. Hive at the shot calling in mid. Deftly, who had a stellar game yesterday with Matt, who made a lot of level 1 plays with Coach Tyler.
Now, these two teams, if you didn't catch the games yesterday, both had incredibly surprising outcomes. For Golden Guardians, it was the best kind of a surprise. For Cloud9, the worst. Golden Guardians have to be ecstatic about grabbing that win.
Yeah, and Golden Guardians, I mean, they have to be ecstatic about their second half of the split because they are positive in the second half of the split, going 3-1 in their last 4 games. They exploited Echo Fox's bottom lane and allowed Deftly to carry, who's been stepping up. And that game that they had up against Echo Fox was the bloodiest game of the split. It had the most combined kills per minute out of any game so far in 2018 Spring in NA.
Well, the question today then is, what weakness do the Guardians try to exploit against Cloud9, who really shouldn't have lost the game against CLG that they lost yesterday?
Yeah, because Cloud9, they had a 10,000 gold lead over CounterLogic Gaming, and they had some shoddy fights that ended up slowly giving away their lead, as you see there. And on that gold graph, it is ridiculous. It's this valley into this gigantic mountain, but Cloud9 out of position multiple times, and that's what allowed CLG back into it. And Golden Guardians, if they play the way that Golden Guardians did yesterday, where it was bloodthirsty, it was skirmishes all the time, you have to watch your positioning if you're a member of C9.
I mean, you don't normally see a gold graph like that that's all red, and it turns out it's a blue side victory. That kind of thing will always catch you off guard, and if you're Cloud9, you've got to ask some questions at the end of that game and say, look, clearly there were some issues. What are we prioritizing? What are we fixing? Because this is a team that, going into this week, looking like one of the strongest teams in the entire league, looking like a big playoff contender. You can't just be dropping games randomly with 10,000 gold leads.
I mean, both for Cloud9 and for Golden Guardians going up against Echo Fox, right? Golden Guardians beat the #1 team in the league. Complete upset. It's the highest upset that you could have. Now they're trying to take down Cloud9, who just lost to a team at the bottom of the standings in CLG.
You know what I'm sad about, Zyrene? I've played this game for 8 years, and 7 of those years, Skarner never gets picked. We finally get to the year where Skarner gets picked. I get to see him for 2 whole weeks, and now he's up 1 permanent ban left in League of Legends.
Man.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not as one tricky or anything like that, but it's for me, it was Sejuani. I played her all the time, and then she got reworked, and she was flavor of the month, and now she hasn't dropped out of the meta ever. So she still gets picked, but now it's just I can't be the Sejuani guy. It's just everyone's the Sejuani
everybody's
guy.
the Sejuani guy. Everybody's the Skarner guy. Well, both of our champions are going to be banned away by the Golden Guardians, as well as the Rise, Cloud9, opting to ban away the Scion, the Kha'Zix, and the Galio. And with first pick being theirs, they decide to pick up that Xayah there for Sneaky.
And that is how you get a fair and balanced cast, is you ban both of our mains away.
And then we don't get to talk about unique and interesting mechanics that we know because we only play those champions. Instead, we talk about somewhat unique and still interesting mechanics from stuff that we marginally know as much about.
I love this from Golden Guardians, though. Just like the analyst desk was talking about, the Rakan plus Xayah duo is 4-1 so far, and it's been absolutely oppressive. You have to break that duo up. It's trouble in paradise, but if you're not banning it away, you got to pick it away. And so the Golden Guardians go from Matt on the playmaker, which I love to see, and definitely on a high damage carry here that can actually dominate the lane phase.
Breaking up that combination, very important, because we've seen what they can do. At level 1, Xayah just takes the clean cuts. They both just start auto-attacking you, and there's not really a lot you can do about it, considering at level 1, most abilities are barely stronger than an auto-attack, so makes things pretty deadly. But Cloud9's response is going to be Azir locked in there for Jensen. I highly doubt this fiddle pick is real. Don't get bamboozled, crowd. You know it's going to happen. It's the Heartbreak Hotel, and y'all are about to check in.
Swain,
wait,
it's not complete troll. Volibear.
Oh, this could still be fun.
I mean, we've already have Skarner.
All right.
Already off, yeah?
All right, there we go.
Making sure that Contractz, he played this yesterday, had a fantastic game, that he doesn't get it. And I think Volibear now plays really well into the remaining junglers. I think Olaf would be one that you might want to play and is able to skirmish him, but still, Volibear just wins a lot of these level 3, level 4 onward, just 1v1s.
I mean, it's so hard to fight somebody that gets so much of a heal from his passive.
Ooh.
As the response from Golden Guardians, they're picking up the Veigar there in mid lane.
I love how High is playing Veigar into the former Veigar in Jensen. Jensen used to be a kind of Veigar one-trick back in the day, and now I want to see how he plays this, because this will protect him from Volibear. This will allow him to section off and have good team fights, but it's low mobility, so they have to get rid of a lot of engage and pick potential, and that's why I think the Alistar is definitely one of the get it off here, stop Smoothie from having that champion.
Yeah, you keep Smoothie off of it, which is one of Smoothie's biggest namesake type of champions. You've got 2 immobile carries, so it's naturally good against him. I think this ban is just top tier. Exactly what you want to see banned away from Golden Guardians here in the second half of the draft. Let's see how Cloud9 respond. They're taking Jax off the table.
Okay, Jax. Zac is maybe another one that they might ban away, but at the same time, the Volibear can interrupt the Jax if he's on point, or the Zac if he's on point, and you don't really have to worry about it, so it could free up a ban if you think you can play against it. Now we'll see here. I'm excited to see what the Veigar goes in item build, because I know that right before it shifted to a more tank Veigar, where you can just stack AP from your passive, and so you go for Morello's into Abyssal Mask, but now that Morello's has changed, it could be Luden's into Abyssal Mask, but I do expect there to be an AP or a magic resist defensive item from this Veigar as first or second.
The Azale ARAM special.
It came out, went from the ARAM, went to the Rift. I mean, I don't think you actually buy, like, Warmogs afterwards, but...
Well, the Zac will be the second ban there from Cloud9. Tom Kench banned away by the Guardians, so he will be benched this game. Let's see what they pick here for the jungle. Ooh, Lee Sin. Now, this is a pick that you still got to wonder a little bit about, because no Tracker's Knife, so the constant supply of wards that the champion would normally use to set up some of his playmaking will not be available.
Yeah, Lee Sin's used to sit on Tracker's Knife and their yellow trinket the entire time. Now you just get Tracker's Knife and buy some control wards and go back to that. But Contractz, if you think way back to the beginning of his career in professional play, this guy was pretty much a Lee Sin pony, right? He's in that Dardoch era of those junglers who are Lee Sin players. Right after kind of the Rengar, one-tricks came up, right?
One-tricks come in waves.
Yeah, it's like
the Rengars, then the Lee Sins, then the Kha'Zixes.
Yeah, kind of go between those two, right? Usually they two-trick them and go back and forth on them. So we'll see what Contractz is able to do on this Lee Sin here. And it's so interesting because there's just a lot of jungle bans and the Volibear taken away, but then he decides that this is really what he wants to go for here for some playmaking. And then it comes down to skill to try and reach the Azir as well as the Xayah in the backline, but it's so hard for this Lee Sin to do so because they have a lot of disengage.
Yeah, Cloud9 picking up the Cho'Gath and the Braum for themselves in this last part of the draft. Golden Guardians, 1 pick left to go. Still looking to see what they're going to take into the top lane against the Cho'Gath of Licorice. How will Lourlo decide to play this match?
If they want to go for a beefy frontline, it's the Lourlo, gets the Maokai out. If they want to go for split push, it's the Fiora, but the Maokai just seems better in this comp. When you have something that can just point and click and get to the Xayah or the Azir very early on, then yeah, you can take these fights and you can defend a little bit better. So kind of what this composition was lacking, because you kind of consider Lee Sin and Rakan to be like half meatballs. You need that one full meatball.
You need a full meatball there to get the full spaghetti experience from your front line. But Golden Guardians locking in that Maokai for themselves. They got some big cannons in the back line as well, with the Veigar and the Varus put together, and going up against a team in Cloud9 that had an awesome first half of the split and an underwhelming second half when they themselves are telling the opposite story.
It's actually interesting because I look at their first half records for both these teams. They are actually completely inverted. Cloud9 went 8-1 in the first half of the split. Golden Guardians went 1-8. And in the second half, Cloud9 have gone 1-3, and Golden Guardians have gone 3-1. So
The tides,
they
are a-turning.
Exactly. In Cloud9 right now, they were in second, and they're still sitting there right now. But there are teams that are catching up to them. We just saw 100 Thieves move to 8-6. And Cloud9, if they lose this, they will be 9-5. And that is, honestly, there was a big buffer before where it was like, these are the top 2 teams. Cloud9 really need to hold on here and get themselves that first round bye, because we are at that stretch where there are 5 games left to play.
And let's not just consider the standings, right? Let's not just consider what the wins and loss numbers are next to each other. Let's consider what this means for the team. If you make it into playoffs, off the back of losing to a team that's one of the bottom teams in the league, you don't feel nearly as good about how strong you are racking up against the best teams in the league. If you're dropping games to Golden Guardians and you're up against somebody like Echo Fox who has an immensely better record, even if Golden Guardians did beat Echo Fox in the head-to-head one time here, you've still got to be concerned about how you're going to measure up. And for Cloud9, it's about making sure that this isn't just the start of a big slip. Like you said, 1-3 in the second half of the split feels really bad. This team wants to get some of that mojo back.
Exactly, and this isn't just, you know, like you said, it's the bottom versus the top right now with Cloud9 being in second place. This is also Contractz versus old team, and same with High. This used to be the Civil War. We'll see here, Lourlo.
Lourlo backing away. It's a 5-man invade party from Cloud9, but the party invitations are going to be declined, Zyrene. Nobody wants to attend. Everybody walks away instead. So
should have told them that they had a Kobe and pizza. Everybody shows up for that.
Kobe and pizza.
That's how
what you got to put on your party invite.
That's how I baited Prolly and Nade Shot into the NALCS lounge yesterday.
There you go. Neither of them. Tell them we got Kobe and pizza. There you go, chat. Next time you're throwing a party, put that on the invitations. You're going to get everybody on the block to show up. But for now, Golden Guardians, they don't want any extra visitors in the jungle. They just want to play this nice and normal start. Easy enough level 1 there for Contractz, taking his own buff. Matt and Deftly will be giving him the leash. You're going to see a very similar strategy played by Cloud9 in the bottom part of their own jungle. It was warded, so Golden Guardians will know that Svenskeren started at the red buff with the Volibear. And Volibear's pretty good at jungling just because of the fact that you fear the jungle camps for so long with your majestic roar. And then once you actually get into the PvP part of the game, the roar having that mini knockback is really what brought Volibear into the realm of competitive viability that we're seeing him in now.
Yeah, it's a 3-second fear for monsters. So it has that mini knockback and then 3 seconds of CC. So the Raptor camp basically does nothing to you.
Right.
And you don't really have to use any consumables while doing so. Like Volibear right now, you see Svenskeren is almost full HP. I believe he's only lost about like 130 in the jungle. And he hasn't used a potion. And he cleared pretty much the 2 hardest camps to clear for most junglers.
Right, and even though the champion has no sustain built into the kit aside from the passive, as Matt goes in bottom side onto Sneaky there, finding a little bit of damage. Winter's Bite will not be proc, but even though the sustain is only on the passive, he's not healing up every camp that he takes, you have to consider that roar as sort of a pseudo heal. And just think of all the damage that you would have took in those 3 seconds, you've healed that damage up instead by CCing those monsters. So if you think of it in that sort of a respect, he's got one monster type of heal. And High in games versus Cloud9, you saw the stat there on your screen. This guy has not had the greatest fortunes up against his old team.
Yeah, 1-9. Like we said, it was the Civil War originally, but then it just became a little less of a rivalry, because when it has to be considered a rivalry is when you're pushed to the limit. And that was just one where Cloud9 had been dominating this matchup for so long. But because Golden Guardians took down Echo Fox yesterday and Cloud9 dropped to CLG, this is maybe a little bit closer. And you can see Contractz without the vision from the Tracker's Knife earlier or anything like that. They don't see him pathing around here. He's trying to go for Sneaky.
I like Contractz taking the long path here, trying to make the play. Gonna go ahead, land the Tempest into the cripple. Trying to look for a little bit more damage. Matt goes in, trying to block the flash, but good job there from the Golden Guardians. Matt going forward to read that flash as Jensen gets the better of High in the mid lane.
That was probably the weirdest first blood I've ever seen, where they're walking back and it just looks like Smoothie doesn't even like walk up to actually put concussive blows onto Contractz or anything. It's like the slow's used.
Nope.
Doesn't walk up, nothing like that. He's just trying to stay away. Doesn't give him resistances with W or anything like that. Yeah, it's connected. You blow, flash, and heal. That is huge. And remember, yesterday, Matt was able to run away with the game because they were able to get that flash very early on from the enemy bottom lane, and they just destroyed Altec and Adrian. And we'll see if Deftly and Matt are able to take that advantage they have now off that gank and push that further.
I loved how Matt made sure that he dashed where the flash would have been if Sneaky flashed soon. At the same time, Contractz holding the resonating strike part of the Sonic Wave until the flash had already been issued. Well played by both of the Guardians there to secure that first blood for themselves. But even though they got first blood with assist money, they're still only up 100 gold.
Yeah, it's mostly because that CS in the mid lane and the top lane is really taking its price. Jensen is about 200 gold up, and then on the top lane you also have Licorice, about 100 up over his opponent. This is such a dark map, and now you can see the bottom side has just been warded up from Cloud9, and Contractz is on the opposite side, though. Contractz is looking top lane.
This is what you want to see from Lee Sin. Not hitting the Sonic Wave, though.
Exactly.
Bit of a bummer there for him. That's not what you want to see from Lee Sin, but the early activity coming out from this champion. If you're picking Lee Sin and your scoreline is 0-0-0 by the time you hit level 6, why did you pick Lee Sin?
Yeah.
I want to see players be active when they draft this champion, and that's what Contractz is doing.
And I like what he's doing with his wards as well. He hasn't used a trinket ward, and he bought 2 control wards, and he put one down, and he just put another one down. So he's just like, I want to check this bush, now I'm checking this one. So he's actually just blown through his control wards. I thought he would hold on to them for ward hops a little bit, but it looks like that isn't the case. Maybe the trinket wards are a little bit more for that.
Well, he just got another charge of a trinket ward, so he will have that available if he wants to use it as a ganking tool. Jensen still maintaining the farm lead here in the mid lane, and we know that Veigar's a champion that scales very well just because he stacks an infinite amount of AP, and especially now that Death Cap is a meta item and you can multiply your free AP, it's going to be super scary. But Azir also an incredible scaling champion as this game goes on.
Yeah, and it looks like the Veigar is going for the first item tier here. So it might be that the build has augmented from, Morellonomicon early to you take care of your mana problems with tier, and then you get Archangel Staff and maybe Abyssal after that. And the Archangel Staff kind of does what the Morellos would have done. It gives you CDR, it gives you mana, and then it gives you this AP off of how much mana you have. And I really like that because it makes you tankier too when you have the Seraph's Embrace. So not only will you have the health and magic resistance of the Abyssal, you'll also have that shield from just hitting the button when you have these Seraphs.
Plus, Veigar's a pretty spammy champion. The Q gets on a very low cooldown, and the W, even as you get more and more stacks of the passive, can get a lower cooldown than the Q if it goes very late into the game. So the stacking power of the Archangel / tier, very, very strong there for high on that champion. We'll have to see how that stack continues as the game goes on, though, because Jensen definitely not an easy opponent to play against in any regard, really, especially if you're just trying to play a slow game, farm it up, get to a point where you want to be at. Jensen's not exactly the kind of guy that's just going to let you kick back and relax. Cloud9 all together, even gold with their opponents, like I said earlier, despite giving up that first blood, so things are pretty much on the same page right now.
I'm just checking out runes here, and like you said, Jensen, he does have Scorch on the Azir, so he doesn't have Gathering Storm, whereas on the opposite side, High does have Gathering Storm, so he's looking for less early pressure and more scaling. And checking the AD carries, and there's some nuance here where Deftly actually has Gathering Storm and Absolute Focus, the one that when you have above 70% HP, you do more damage, but hold on, Contractz.
Svenskeren into the bottom lane, looking to make the moves here onto the Guardians. Matt may be in some trouble, looking to get himself over the wall. Flash will do it. He's safe.
I saw a bear, and I thought it was Contractz. I'm still in yesterday. Svenskeren today. So, yeah. But it looked like he tried to interrupt Matt on the grand entrance with the E and wasn't able to get the knockback there, so still got knocked up himself instead of being able to completely just stop it. Because I believe it's a front-loaded cast where the travel time is really what does it, and then when you reach the place, you will go up pretty much no matter what. But look at that kick.
All right, here we go, bottom lane. Flash into the kick to set things up onto Smoothie. Contractz grabbing kill number 2 here for the Golden Guardian.
And that's because Smoothie had pretty much blown his flash right before that, trying to make a play happen. And then Smoothie, I mean, this guy, he swapped out for Cleanse, so he doesn't really have too many defensive options. And if he had gone after Sneaky, Sneaky has the ultimate now. So I really like that play from Contractz. As we take one more look at it, uses the Blast Cone, which does spawn later on this patch, and the TP from Matt to help himself get in there. But the flash kick onto Smoothie, who can't really get away from that. Really good setup there.
Well done by the Golden Guardians. Contractz now responsible for both of the kills that have happened so far. Svenskeren yet to get himself on the board. But Lee Sin does have more playmaking tools than what Volibear has. Volibear kind of falls into the same category that you would see something like Skarner fall into, where he feels very binary. He has to run at you, and he can run at you really fast, but that's what he does.
Yeah, he's not actually going to be running as fast this game because he has Aftershock instead of going for Predator, which we've seen the Volibears pretty much run Predator in solo queue, and Contractz did it yesterday to like rush in. But the Aftershock, it's so easy to actually get off on Volibear because of the fact that you press E, it's a mini knockback. You don't have to flip the person, you have to just hit him with some form of CC to immobilize them, and the E will do it now, the Majestic Roar.
Makes the proc very easy there as Jensen steps out of the way of the event horizon. High will not catch him out so easily here today. Licorice continuing to push up here in the top side against Lourlo. Licorice's Cho'Gath. Licorice has been a player who's honestly impressed a lot of people so far this split with his play overall, doing a great job as a rookie. Didn't have the greatest of games yesterday, though, on the tank.
It hasn't been smooth sailing for him in the second half. Ever since the Lucian game, I think Lucian top lane games are now kind of memes for
They're the
top
curse.
lanes. Yeah.
They're the curse.
0-7-2, got camped on that one. Then he played Gnar, 0-3-1. Had a Kled game where he popped off, but then the Maokai yesterday. Now there's that criticism out there, like, can he play tanks, right?
Right.
But Licorice has been one of those bruiser players for a very long time, and with the meta shift back towards tanks, this Cho'Gath, I feel like in these tank matchups, plays more like a bruiser early on, where you just...
Like you said, he's like a Darius.
Yeah, you beat the tanks, and you do a really good job of just slowing them down, and then you have true damage later. So you're basically tank Darius. You're the competitive version.
I mean, the way I judge whether or not something's going to be play like a tank or a bruiser, the tank controls the carries and soaks the carries. The bruiser tries to kill them. As bottom side, Contractz and Svenskeren both looking to get into the fight here. Svenskeren is going to be very scary on this Volibear with the ult, but Contractz has the killing spree on the enemy AD carry. Getting himself back now as Svenskeren's going to be trapped in the baby cage and brought down by High.
And Golden Guardians, the pace of these games in the last few for them have been phenomenal. That counter there, Contractz already on his way, but everybody else is ready to back him up there. I love how they flipped in Matt, but Matt turns it around in the blink of an eye. He gets back in there, gets the knock-up and the charm, which allows Contractz to get that finishing blow with the kick. We'll see it one more time here, where the TP starts because they didn't finish that ward off. Boom, flips him in. Matt goes, okay, I'm even closer to where I want to be. Goes in, knocks up the bottom lane, and Contractz, he does finish him off with the kick, so there isn't really a knock through or anything like that. But then now that High's arrived, Svenskeren can't get out in the baby cage and doesn't want to flash.
Very well played there by Matt, and that's honestly the kind of fight that you really get excited for as a Volibear player, because that's where your ult shines, these small skirmishes where you can do so much on hit damage, but it was just better played by the side of the Golden Guardians, and they're now 4-0 up against the #2 team in NALCS. The second half of the split for Golden Guardians has been looking fantastic so far, Zyrene.
They beat Liquid, they lost to Optic, but then they beat CLG and Fox. And if they beat Cloud9, that puts them in a spot where they can actually look for playoffs if they keep winning like this. But right now, it's only a 1,000 gold lead. It's not huge, but it is a great early game lead. And I'm watching Contractz here because he's got that 100% KP. He's got 3 of those kills. He's the one who really needs to put that gold exactly where it needs to be. And this Banner of Command, first item for Licorice.
Ooh, baby.
There are no dematerializers on the enemy team. Golden Guardians do not have them.
No dematerializers ready. You can see Smoothie has a stack of them. He's still got 5 of them remaining, so Cloud9 are ready.
And so does Licorice, so they have 9 total.
That's a lot of dematerializers for those cannon minions, but Lourlo, they'll clear that one out eventually.
Well, you think back to yesterday's game where Cloud9 were kind of tunneled on that banner up a minion, force it down the lane, and then CLG actually brought dematerializers. That's how CLG held off with a 10,000 gold disadvantage. Was boom, cannon minion disappears. After the Baron, boom, did it multiple times. And then C9 were like, how do we push? How do we push this game further? But Golden Guardians, they don't have that.
Oh, that was clean. Contractz knows how to do it, man. Goes in, fakes the kick, gets the shuffle, walks away like nothing even happened. Fantastic play from this guy. Now looking to make yet another move. There comes your insect, but Jensen with the escape. Contractz taken down by the counterattack from Svenskeren.
Yep, looks like Contractz said, all right, second time, this will be the charm. Not able to actually get in completely for that good kickback onto Jensen, who still has flash, but they didn't really have the damage either. It didn't kick him towards High, just a little bit off.
Whoop, top side, could be seeing a dive here, but Svenskeren will just deal with the Krugs instead, realizes the wave isn't really in the position he needs it to be in. To make that dive happen, he'll give Licorice a little bit of extra time as Lourlo will ward up that brush with a sapling. That spots out Svenskeren. Lourlo knows what's going on now, but can he outplay it, or will they just decide to opt completely away from this one? Turret taken very low. Cloud9 will just decide to finish this off for themselves, and with that turret first blood bonus, that means they're going to go up to a 1,000 gold lead.
And this is one of those situations where I actually think Contractz made a big whoopsie. As a jungler, you can't help everybody. You have to say, nope, you have a losing matchup, I'm not going to help you. High's already below half. You can't really help this too much. This was sick, though. That's where I feel like we need to give everybody Mastery 7 on all these champions.
So you can flash it.
Or, you know what, I take Mastery 4 there as well. That one actually.
The little tiny one?
That's even more BM. That's the major BM. I don't even play this champ. But yeah, right there, when he got the kick back, he couldn't really get over the wall or anything like that, right? His flash would have put him in the wall, so his only kick direction, because Jensen had positioned himself between the turret and the wall, is to kick him diagonal, and it wasn't going to hit where Hai had put down the event horizon.
It felt forced.
Yeah. At that point, it was definitely very forced.
And for Contractz, you got to be concerned if you're forcing those plays and kind of tossing away a bit of the lead that you've made for yourself, because that's the classic Lee Sin issue, right? You're good in the early game. You need to set the team up, as now Hai is going to be juggled backwards. They're going to toss them all around as Svenskeren gets in there. Event Horizon going to be shutting the bear down, though. Svenskeren not being able to get there in time means Hai will walk away.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, playing as Contractz on this Lee Sin, like, you give that lead away, but, like I said, I feel like it's a big oopsie from him because you don't have to play around all your lanes. Like, your bottom lane was demolishing because of your help. You can just keep going there, and if Volibear shows up, you win the 3-on-3, right? You have TP.
They already showed that.
You have TPs, right? You can keep going there. You don't have to go to this lane here, where it was even, with Hai being a little bit behind. It's now he's majorly behind. You see that Jensen is in kind of danger of running away with this game on this Azir, and he still has his flash, right? You weren't able to accomplish much except get the ultimate out, and that's really why I think it was one where you just need to not play around that Azir for a while and just get yourself in a better position, because they also lost top turret off that. Contract's death means that Svenskeren gets to go make a numbers advantage somewhere, and that's how they got that first turret for C9.
A big swing in momentum. Let's see if Cloud9 can find what they're looking for with Hai here in the mid lane this time. 3 men strong. They should just be able to bulldoze the turret down. They lost their bottom lane tier 1, but they take the Golden Guardians tier 1 in retaliation. Also working on getting that Rift Herald for themselves to set up another future turret play. Cloud9, even though they're down 1-4, they're up in gold, they're up in objectives, they're making plays.
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out, because the fact that they are down because of those skirmishes in terms of kills doesn't mean that they're actually down in gold. Cloud9, because of the objectives in the map play and that one mistake, really gotten them back in the game. Not just back, I mean, thriving at
They're ahead, yeah.
Ahead 1,000. It's not that much gold still, but the fact they have those turrets down gives them way more pressure, because you saw Licorice able to assist mid lane in that push, right? And help them with that turret. Whereas before, if Lourlo were still able to kind of hold up in that lane, it would be different. But kind of opens up the map with those turrets and those structures down more than getting kills and just having gold does.
Cloud9 having a good time so far in this game, but Golden Guardians aren't doing poorly either. They still have the advantage in terms of those kills. They've got the Abyssal Mask done on their Veigar. You've got the Ginsu's Rage Blade there for Deftly's Varus. And this is going to be Drake number 2 going the way of the Guardians. So grabbing some objectives for themselves, still keeping this game very close overall.
And because they have that top and that mid turret down, they get to Banner of Command top lane. There's a Rift Herald as well in the pocket of Svenskeren, so they could potentially be looking more at those, and Golden Guardians going to take the opportunity to look at the bottom side of the map here.
And Lourlo is just not in a very good spot right now, trying to deal with these bannered up minions. It's going to be Svenskeren and Licorice trying to make the dive here. Lourlo dropping the ulti, trying to defend himself. TP coming in to try to stop this one. Svenskeren going to be in some trouble now as he gets Event Horizon, and Hai shows up to grab the kill.
And that's what they should be doing, is not playing around that mid lane. You shouldn't be playing around Hai in that mid lane. You should be playing around your side lane, whether it's the top because Hai can then get there faster, or the bottom one because you have TP advantage once again. Just kind of leave Jensen's lane alone. They did it a little bit too late, I would say, because now Jensen's in a point where he's got the tier stacking up. He has the Nashers, and it's going to be very hard to catch this Azir. That's kind of like, I'm setting this up right now as Jensen is going to be a huge win condition for Cloud9, whereas Golden Guardians, they actually have pretty much everybody set up to carry.
Except for Lourlo.
Yeah, he's got Banner really, now. He's doing his thing.
A carry, yeah. He's not really meant to carry, though. It's not a game, like, you don't pick Maokai to be the carry. So they've got the kills, they've got the setups where they need them so far. Banner versus Banner. But remember, we still want to keep in mind the fact that there are all those dematerializers on the side of Cloud9. In case Golden Guardians gets themselves a good skirmish that might lead to an early Baron, Cloud9 does still have that answer lined up. On the other hand, maybe Cloud9 gets a skirmish that goes their way. Maybe Jensen's able to pop off on that Azir, and then Golden Guardians are in a very rough spot. They don't have that defense.
And it looks like pick on Lourlo. Is that the name of the game here? There's no TP from Hai. And yeah, they're going to place this to get the last outer turret.
I don't remember exactly when that was taken, but I believe the timer was about 3/4 of the way up, so they figure this is about the best time to use it. Lourlo will try to hold the line here as best he can. Contractz hanging around in case they try to make a dive happen. Shelly will get a little bit of damage down onto this turret. She did get off a very nice full HP headbutt, but I don't think she's actually going to manage to take this one down before Lourlo manages to secure it. Nope, one more punch into the eyeball, and the Rift Herald ends up not finding its mark today.
And it doesn't actually completely kill that turret. And we saw Contractz kind of hovering around the area on that bottom side because he knew that, you know, jungler's here. He put down the Rift Herald, of course. Yeah, Righteous Glory actually completed for Svenskeren as well. So
that's a big item for Volibear. I mean, the difference between getting onto somebody and not, when your only option is to run fast, is to run faster.
Yeah, that's why Predator is just so good on those low mobility, or I guess the movement speed dependent ones. Olaf, Skarner, and also the Volibear.
Going to the event horizon. Oh, Contractz misses the Sonic Wave, throwing it ahead of potentially where Jensen may have flashed, but Jensen still being CC'd at the time. Doesn't end up walking forward into that one. So he gets himself away. It was a good attempt by the Guardians, but they won't find their mark here just yet. Jensen very low, though. Got to keep that in mind if you're C9 looking to make some plays, but they will find that enemy mid laner. Can they make anything happen, though? Smoothie going forward, flash into the winner's bite. High going to be locked up, but Mac here to save the day instead. Nope. He's going to give over a double to Cloud9, and this is that situation I was talking about, Zyrene. 2 dead on the enemy side. Cloud9, they call for Baron. Jensen gets a mouthful of honey fruit. He's going to make sure he's healthy for this fight, and they're daring the Golden Guardians to come into this one.
And this
Contractz
so
has Smite, but you've also got to deal with the Smite plus the Execute combo from the Volibear on the W.
The Cho'Gath is a big one, too.
A very difficult situation to have to deal with. Licorice taken nearly down, though. They got to be careful about this one. Contractz going in, still looking to maybe secure this one, but not today. It's Baron for Cloud9.
Yep, not able to have enough damage there because they got High. High would have been very useful in that situation. Because they didn't pick Jensen off earlier with Contractz right here, not landing the Q, that means that Jensen gets to assist here, and that gives him 2 kills, and that's huge. See, the flash from Smoothie. High actually is about to have his Event Horizon back up. He actually gets it right here, and that... Whoa. I believe he actually cleansed to ulti there on Smoothie's side. That's what that looked like.
I respect Matt going in, trying to save his mid laner there, but when you just give 2 kills over to that big enemy AP carry in the mid lane with Jensen's Azir, that feels bad.
That was sick from Smoothie, because what happened is it's a 2-part CC from Rakan, the charm into the knockup, right? And you can buffer your ultimate as Braum through knockups and stuff. So what happened was Matt went in, charmed him, Smoothie cleansed ultis. So while he's knocked up, he's actually casting his, and that hits both High and Matt, and that's why they were able to do that, because Smoothie's quick fingers.
Very well played there from Smoothie. Nice mechanical outplay of what Matt was trying to do. And now Cloud9, they've got those Baron up cannon minions. The siege tanks have towed the line, but Matt's looking to go in and maybe stop this one right here. TP coming in from behind. Lourlo starts things off. Licorice taken very low, going to be rooted up. Svenskeren there on the front line now, going to be bursted down himself. As Licorice barely walking away from this. Contractz here on the side, looking to go into the back line. Instead, bursted down as Cloud9 turn the assault back onto the Golden Guardians. Jensen still walking himself away. Lourlo continuing to tank up there on the front line as Sneaky falls. The remaining members of Cloud9 barely getting themselves away. It's going to be Licorice tied up, knocked up, beaten down as the damage comes through along with the stun. Licorice, one more hit will do it, and Deftly grabs himself the kill.
Yeah, remember the Banner command has that point runner passive on it, so you move faster around those dead turrets, and Lourlo's able to actually get back in that fight. But once again, Contractz sets up the team at the start. He still ends up dropping, but let's watch this one more time. The TP comes through from Lourlo on the backside, and that's how they're trying to counter this. The way you counter the Banner without Dematerializer is you hard engage. So they go in, Sneaky actually is rooted, and he gets charmed, but then Lourlo's in the back line. They get Svenskeren and Licorice low, so now those frontliners aren't able to really tank up. And so Contractz goes in onto Licorice, flash kicks Jensen, and then Jensen decides to go in, but Sneaky had a different idea. He goes in as well, but he also gets locked up there right after his ultimate. So having to blow that one offensively means he doesn't have it for the peel afterwards.
Good plays to win the fight there from the Guardians. Their reward is going to be Mountain Drake number 2, their 3rd total Elemental Drake this game. So if this one goes on long enough to have an Elder Drake win conditions, Irene, it's going to be pretty scary if it falls into the hands of the Golden Guardians. But right now, Cloud9 still 4,500 gold in the lead. A 2-0-3 Azir, 2 items completed. Nashor's Tooth into Void Staff, so really wants to make sure that he's doing damage to these tankier targets. He knows that the Veigar rushed the Abyssal Mask. He knows that Maokai has the Spirit Visage, and getting that early magic penetration, very much a priority for him this game.
Yeah, and he does have that Seraphs on top of it, so a little bit of a defensive item there. But I went for the Abyssal Mask into the Seraph's Embrace, so he is incredibly tanky, and he has a lot of CDR now. He's sitting at that 30%, and his E is a 7.2 cooldown, and it lasts 3 seconds. So there's only a 4.5 second window where he doesn't have that up, and he can still get a little bit more CDR on top of it, I believe. He's about 265 AP from just his passive. So this Veigar, if he gets a death cap, which he probably will in the near future since he has a needlessly large rod, we're going to be looking at a lot of AP.
Seraph's Embrace is actually such a troll item in the UI because the items are supposed to be listed by the most expensive ones first, like near the character portrait. But Seraph's Embrace, because it technically costs 0 because it evolved from a different item, it places it last. So I literally wasn't even looking at the Seraph's Embrace from Azir. I was like, oh man, only 2 items. He's doing a lot of damage, but he's got this whole third gigantic item. But because of the way that things work with items evolving into other items, it doesn't quite look as scary, but he is very much a threat in this game for Cloud9, the biggest damage source they've got. Sneaky 0, 3, and 4 on the Xayah. Dropped a couple more times than he would have liked to so far, but he's still got 2 crit items up and running, still going to be a damage threat if left unchecked in the back line.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that for the longest time, where the inner items on the Spectator here are the most expensive, and then it goes upward.
Orders them.
For a very long time. I think I learned that in like the last 2 years or something like that, where that actually happened with Archangels, and I was like, I just thought it was like actives go to another side or something, and that there's never any rhyme or reason to it. And control wards are like the last things in your inventories all the time.
Yeah. It's like, I wonder why everybody has control wards on the same slot. It must just be the slot 6 specialty.
Did you know that you can, when you make special item sets on the in the game itself, you can actually have active items go to a specific number when you purchase it.
Wait, what?
So if you always have Righteous Glory on like 1, and if you have an item set for Righteous Glory, you can actually make it go to your number 1 every time.
Huh. Well, today I learned. That's pretty cool.
Custom item sets.
Custom item sets. I normally just like playing around with them, putting like 17 Trinity Forces in them.
Yeah, that was
they were
Freaks
actually
for the
useful for
longest time.
something.
Freaks was like tons of damage, it's just all Trinity Forces.
Just a bunch of Trinity Forces over and over and over again. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it, Licorice pushing up here in the bottom lane. That's a very tanky Cho'Gath. 4,000 HP. He's got armor, he's got MR, he's building even more MR to make sure that he doesn't fall prey to that Veigar damage.
And he's got materializers.
Yep, we've still got 3 materializers on him, 4 materializers on Smoothie's Braum, so 7 of them locked and loaded, ready to go.
Yeah, I actually feel like Cho'Gath will sell his before the supports, since Smoothie has 4 of them. There aren't any banner of commands except for that one on Lourlo on the side of Golden Guardians right now. So that's kind of what I think will happen.
Are they even worth much money, or do you just randomly cast them on a minion? Oh no, they don't even sell for anything. Minion Dematerializer sells for 0.
Really?
Yeah. They're not worth much. You just, well, to the shopkeeper at least.
Yeah.
To somebody who's going up against a bannered up Baron minion, they're worth their weight in gold.
Yeah. When your team is grouping, you just use it on the cannon minion every time. You're like, oh, sorry guys.
Nope. All right,
my bad. I'm just trying to get these out of my inventory. Yeah, waiting for that death cap from High. I really want to check what his AP is at after he combines those 2 rods into a hat. He's at almost 300 ability power. He's just 7 off from his passive alone. So I think he's going to hit about, I would say he's going to be about like 900.
And remember that every 50 stacks of the passive gives him cooldown on the W as well. 50 is that break point where you actually get a CDR upgrade. So right now, if you're looking at the Veigar, the Q is 2.75 seconds, the W is 2.6. He's casting that more frequently than he's getting the Qs out now, so a lot of damage potential will be output through that. Golden Guardians deciding to pull the trigger here.
I mean, they have 2 Mountain Dragons, so makes a lot of sense.
Baron, can they do it though? Down to half HP, not going to be disengaging just yet, forcing Cloud9 to come in. Dropping the Event Horizon, here we go. Matt looking to make the engage happen, finds his way onto Jensen, but it's still going to be Lourlo there on the front line, silenced up, not able to find the ulti before he goes down, and Golden Guardians still looking to make something happen here, but Svenskeren kept alive through the power of the passive, and the Golden Guardians have to disengage.
And they're just able to shred right through Lourlo. He had Aftershock on. They did so much damage to him because of the nom down from Licorice with the ultimate. That true damage just took so much off of Lourlo.
And now Cloud9 gets the chance to push up there, take the tier 2 turret in the mid lane. They've got all but one of Golden Guardian's turrets down outside of the base. They've got one down in the base, if you look at the top lane on that inhibitor turret there. Cloud9 still 7,000 gold in the lead. This game is deceptive. It looks like it would be a lot closer than it is. And the Golden Guardians, they're recognizing the fact that they've got to do something. They can't just let this continue. Going for the Baron, down to 3K, still looking to burst it. Can they do it? It is secured by the Guardians, but at what cost? Lourlo coming in from behind. They're trying to make this fight work out. It's still going to be 4 versus 4. Jensen's not able to find his way into the fight just yet. Contractz on the back end, trying to escape. 2 men knocked up into the air. The silence is down, and so is High, as Contractz will be thrown under the bus as well. A double kill for Jensen's Azir.
And even though they have the Baron on the side of Golden Guardians, they have it on only 2 people. They have a single banner of command, and they're still dematerializers. So looks like Cloud9 are actually going to banner up their own minions and go for a push here towards this inhibitor.
They've got the wave mid. They can take down this inhibitor turret. And remember, top lane inhibitor also exposed. This is likely a 2-inhib push here, as High and Contractz are both still dead. Cloud9 may just be looking for the Nexus itself, needing one more wave of minions to back them up as they approach. 2 cannon minions, no Baron, but still bannered up. Matt goes in, able to find a big initiation onto 3, but the damage is not quite there. Deftly is beaten down. Lourlo is going to be following shortly thereafter. Sneaky still drops. Cloud9 forced off for now. Matt still alive. Lourlo and Contractz coming in here as well. Svenskeren knocked up into the air, grabs a bite right out of Matt as Jensen goes a domination streak, bringing down the hammer there on to the enemy team. Golden Guardians still looking to see if they can maybe find something else off the back end of this one. I don't think so. They will hold their Nexus, though.
Yeah, Contractz really almost hit Jensen there with that last Q. And that would have been the first death for Jensen this game, who is playing out of his mind. He's almost 100 CS up over High, and he's playing really well in the backline here. They start this off with Matt, once again, just trying to get into that backline. He does a really good job, but Deftly's the only person who can actually do a lot of damage here. And you'll see Smoothie is able to get right in front of him and stops a lot of this damage here, whereas Svenskeren goes for the flash flip, and then he's pretty much just dead to rights at that point. The Nom comes down from Licorice, and that is a lot of damage. Right now, that Cho'Gath is doing about 1,000 damage with that ultimate. And Lourlo, for context on like when Lourlo got evaporated in that last fight, not this one, but the one before, Lourlo has 2,600 HP. His items are Boots, that's no HP. Banner of Command, that's no HP. Frozen Heart, there's no HP on it. His only HP item is that Spirit Visage, so this true damage really does take about 1/3 of his HP away as this tanky Maokai. He needs to start building some HP, and you can see that with the Ruby Crystal. He's trying to get there, but this Maokai is just not that tanky.
And the problem is, you can have all the well-laid plans you want, but when you're down 8,500 gold, you're starting to reach the point where one more big team fight loss is going to be game in favor of Cloud9. And for Golden Guardians, you may not have the time to get that HP you need to survive against that Cho'Gath on the front line. Golden Guardians will definitely need a big engage here. We saw Matt hit that 3-man ultimate into knockup to defend the Nexus, but they weren't able to fully capitalize just because of the fact that they still had members dead. Imagine if High was there. Imagine if there was an event horizon to couple with that. It would have been a very different story. But now Cloud9 still with the control of this game, still with the tempo in their favor. 4 men strong in the bottom lane will push up, threatening onto the last standing tier 2 of Golden Guardians.
Man, Licorice has 5,000 HP. Lourlo has 2,670. He actually legitimately almost has 2 times as much HP as the Maokai.
Just Cho'Gath things.
He's like 200 HP off of having exactly twice the amount. It's pretty ridiculous.
Baby, we got a wild bear in the top lane. He runs up and he scratches the inhibitor and he's like, nope, I don't do any damage, walks away. But he did what was important. He drew their attention away from the bottom lane. The tier 2 falls. Cloud9 has nothing but the base of the Golden Guardians left to take now. No Baron available, no Drake available. Nothing neutral to fight for.
You do have to watch out, though, as High is hitting these huge breakpoints. He does have that death cap, which gives him an extra 303 AP just from the passive of the death cap. So it's a 423 AP item. And now he's sitting at over 1,000 himself. So he's at 1,063 AP. And once he gets Void Staff, he becomes a very big threat to everybody on the team of Cloud9. At that point, he's looking at possibly 1 or 2 shotting Sneaky from full HP, or even Jensen. So this Veigar, you have to watch it constantly.
And remember, we mentioned earlier, way back in laning phase, that High has a very unfortunate record of 1-9 up against his old team. So he'd really like to double that number of wins here today, but he'll definitely have to put in more than his share of the work if he wants to do it. So much of the damage potential of his team is riding on that massive late game scaling that Veigar has in the kit, and he's going to need to bring all of those skill shots down onto the right targets at the right time, because Cloud9, like you said, that Cho'Gath sitting with over 5,000 health with 3 different items. Well, actually, every single one of his items gives magic resistance, now that I'm looking at it, if you're including the boots as well. So very scary, very difficult to take down Licorice and prevent him from just stomping through those front lines. But if you want the win, that's what you got to do. 9,000 gold down. It's a tall order, but the Guardians will continue to hold. 1 inhibitor exposed, 1 inhibitor still dead.
Void Staff completed for High, so now he's at 1,133 AP, and he has that extra penetration and defensive stats. So getting caught here would mean a lot of damage landing on them. So we'll see. He does, yeah, he flashes like I gotta.
Because he knows he must, but Svenskeren didn't even have flash.
That's the thing though, is like, you have to respect it, because if he has flash and he flash E's, you're gonna get caught about like 200 units away from him, and then you're guaranteed flipped, and you won't have time to react because of that little knockback. So you have to do it earlier, and that's why High went for that. It looks like he also blew the Ghost too. So
double summoners down. I mean, that feels great if you're Cloud9. You're saying, okay, Volley didn't even have flash, and we just got both summoners, so that's awesome, but you really do have to respect the choice High made there. It was the right choice to make, because if you get caught out, the game probably just ends.
And right now you're looking at, if these teams play front to back, it's probably going to be a victory for Cloud9, because Licorice is going to be able to do a lot of damage to the front line, with Lourlo being that Maokai without that much HP. And then you also have this Azir that's just going to chunk away really quickly. And like we had said previously at the start, this is kind of like Jensen was set up from the beginning to do well. He's 6-0-4, whereas his bottom lane really did have a lot of pressure on them. But then he was able to get more in this game, and you can see Jensen is doing so much here, and there's the flip.
Oh my goodness, Matt taken down before we can do much of anything. The same for Lourlo. Golden Guardians now 3 versus 5. The damage coming through, definitely going to be rooted up and taken down as well. Silence down onto High. The Seraph's Embrace will not save him, and Cloud9 will make the victory push off of this. Contractz, the last man standing, will not do much. Staring down the entirety of the team of Cloud9. They may have lost yesterday to CLG. They will not reprise that role here today. They've got themselves the 12,000 gold lead. They're going for the Nexus. They're proving that they are still one of the top teams in the North American LCS, and they'll take down the Golden Guardians about 38 minutes in. Looking to pad the stats just a little bit further, picking up that final kill onto Contractz for the ace, and that's the game for Cloud9.
That final fight, that came down to, looked like Golden Guardians wanted to fight. Matt got chunked out, and the Azir soldiers were zoning the front line, zoning both Lourlo and Contractz off from engaging. And that's where Licorice just threw down a really good Cho'Gath rupture. It goes unnoticed, but it knocked up both of them, and then it allowed the flip for Lourlo into the team, and then the front line is gone. So C9 playing front to back. At that point, they just played their front line is in your back line.
And Licorice, 4-1-8 on the Cho'Gath. You talked about how the guy seems more comfortable on bruisers. Can he play tanks is the question. Well, sometimes one way to answer a question is to just completely ignore it. Not answer it, play what you're good at, and when you're that good at what your specialty is, you can make things happen.
Yeah, and this was a game where it looked like Golden Guardians from the get-go, the 4-0 start, the Lee Sin is snowballing. He's going to start getting this game going. Contractz with a few missteps there when the game is kind of riding on those early parts of the game going perfectly for him. It's just such hard execution. That's why we don't see a whole lot of the Lee Sin, right? And you have fallback patterns for other types of champions. But missed a few cues, set up his team for success though.
Yeah.
But then it was just that gank mid, I feel, that really allowed Jensen to open up the map and Svenskeren to get the better of the top lane too.
And it feels so punishing sometimes, because one mistake like that can have such a snowball effect that can set things so far behind when they look like they were going a lot better. Contractz did have some great success in the bottom lane early on, though. We got to see Golden Guardians, a team that for the first few weeks of this split looked like they were really struggling to find what would work at all, actually looked really good for the first part of this game.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you go, okay, they looked really good, and then they deviated for some reason, and that's probably what they'll retro is, why didn't we just keep slamming bottom lane? Because we had the tools to do so, right? Varus plus the Rakan, pretty easy to get in there, and then you have the Lee Sin, so it's like, why didn't we just keep going bottom lane, win bottom lane, get the turret, rotate our bottom lane around, and use them as a point of victory there? So it looked like Golden Guardians, they had that, like you said, that glimpse there at the start where it looked like they were going to have a really good game, but then few slip-ups, and Cloud9 were instantly back in it.
Yeah, Cloud9 getting themselves back into the game to find the win, and now we're going to go ahead and send things to Avli and Cloud9 support.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Smoothie. Congratulations on that win. We weren't sure which way it was going to go. How were you guys able to come back?
Yeah, so Contractz kind of hates us now, and he camped a bot lane, so it was pretty hard for us, or me and Sneaky, but fortunately Jensen and Licorice and Sven played really well topside, so we had that advantage going into the mid game, and yeah, fed Azir, so it's really hard to win the game.
Coming into this week, a lot of Cloud9 fans were almost assured that Cloud9 was going to have a 2-0 victory, and yet yesterday you dropped the game to CLG, and today there was a little bit of struggle. What do you think was the reason behind kind of like the place?
I think one of the biggest reasons is that the banner changed made us kind of tunnel vision on just using the cannon minions, and we just realized that they had so much engaged in CLG's comp, and I guess we realized it too late, and by the time we actually did something different, the game was pretty much really hard or impossible to win because like Xayah Rakan at 6 items is just too insane. But I think it's pretty fine because we should have won that game, but yeah, it sucks that we lost.
Well, speaking to yourself, where do you see room for your own improvement?
I guess right now, there's obviously a lot of things to improve for myself. Just being more decisive right now, I think is one of the bigger ones for me, and just knowing my lane matchups like to the T is probably the best thing I can work on right now. So hopefully by next week I can be even better.
Cloud9 is still clutching on to that second place. What's the team going to do overall to kind of secure that grasp?
Well, I guess just keep practicing on this new big patch that just came out. I think banner's probably gonna get changed eventually, so hopefully. So hopefully the meta will favor us and we learn it faster than other teams. I think that's all I can really ask for right now.
Well, congratulations again on that win. And for more on the game, let's hear from the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Avali. C9 locking a playoff spot with that victory, moving to 10-4. Of course, seeding still to be determined. But a nice rebound from their loss yesterday to CLG. You heard Smoothie talking about neither of the wins felt super clean, but a little bit better here today. More interestingly, though, Jat, just before this game, we had been talking about the Xayah Rakan duo, and all of the teams on blue side were managing to secure both of those picks. This time around, Golden Guardians elected to remove one of those in that first pick phase for themselves.
Yeah, in 5 games, Blue Side had it this weekend, and you can kind of see in this game why it doesn't get disrupted by Red by picking away the Rakan, because it looked kind of janky on Matt when not matched up with the Xayah as much and not having as much mobility in the game. Not to mention it was just really hard to play against Cho'Gath and Braum and Volibear and all these other things.
Right, dive in, get immediately eaten by the Cho'Gath.
Just not nearly as effective, so you can still see why teams are going for it, but finally a team seemed to adapt a little bit in draft phase and didn't work out.
That said, Contractz up against his former team on the Lee Sin pick, going ham in the early game.
And that's what I was going to say as well. Maybe the Rakan pick struggles a lot more out of laning phase. It definitely still has a lot of gank set up for the team. So you see him comboing really well here with Contractz to make sure that they get a lot of these kills. And that's kind of where the snowball started for them all around this bot lane. Tons of plays down here, just repeated attempts. That's why you hear Smoothie joking around about how they hate him. And so all that playmaking for Rakan is still great. During the laning phase, it becomes a lot more difficult when you don't get those really extended, long-range E's to get out of fights that we know to see.
Yeah, and right after that moment, we thought maybe Golden Guardians was going to win this game, but then this happened, and he didn't get the angle on the kick that he needed to get him into the Event Horizon from Veigar, but even if he did, probably not a smart play. Like, he had made some nifty moves earlier to burn Jensen's ultimate on Azir, and from there he can just kind of leave. Like, High was never going to win that lane. He was in a farm matchup anyway, just trying to scale the late game. And they had an advantage lane they could play around, so they could have kept going back.
Yeah, they also handed the shutdown over to Volibear, kind of catapulted some gold back into their favor.
It was that Lee syndrome, just kind of overstepping a little bit too much. He saw the victory. Kind of, if you make that play work, you might just roll over him to the finish. But Cloud9, let's talk about how they get back into this game, because as you mentioned, up to that point, it looked like Golden Guardians had wrestled control away. It came with picks. It came with picks in particular on High and, of course, Matt.
And once again, around the mid lane, High, he's going to get engaged on here. Doesn't actually stop Svenskeren from getting on top of him, and at this point he has to flash to basically know where he's dead to rice, but for some reason Matt thinks he can still save him. And he just puts himself in the Braum ult as well. Yeah, so right after that, they grab the bear and they start pushing with it. You see that giant jump in the goal right there around the 22-minute mark. That's exactly the play we just saw. And then this whole time, Jensen was kind of destroying mid lane. He's up a fair amount of CS, started grabbing kills with plays like that, and he kind of started smashing team fights.
I mean, Jensen a real carry for the team in this game, but let's be honest, even after that Baron was picked up, Golden Guardians found a couple nice base defenses, extended the game for some time, and so that's where, again, I return to this idea of our top 2 teams who took losses yesterday, looking to recover, rebound, and make sure they secure that playoff bye. Cloud9, okay, you're in the playoffs. You got to make sure, though, that you hold on to at least that second spot. Get that first round bye, propel yourself to the semifinals, and giving away those early advantages and relying on picks is not the way you want to be picking up victories.
True, but what's good for Cloud9 is they hold the head-to-head over Clutch Gaming 2-0 and have a 2-win lead on everyone else, even if Clutch picks up a win in the final game of the day. So they're going to be pretty comfortable, I think, with that spot as long as they keep playing well. One thing that I'm a little bit concerned of with Cloud9, and we have a very small sample size for it, but in both the games that Licorice has played, he had really good laning on tanks. He was a super good Maokai laner, and he got really far ahead on Cho'Gath, but I'm starting to question his team fighting. And Mark and I were kind of talking about this during the game of, he's been such a good split pusher on everything. But even in some of his Jace games and some of the other games where he was trying to transition the leads that they weren't necessarily stomping, his team fighting's actually not been that great. So I think that's one place where he should look to improve as the season progresses.
All right, there you go. Fair enough. Week 7 comes to a close with FlyQuest versus Clutch Gaming. Game 5 is coming up after the break.
I like Contractz taking the long path here, trying to make the play. Gonna go ahead, land the Tempest into the cripple. Trying to look for a little bit more damage. Matt goes in, trying to block the flash.
When you reach the place, you will go up pretty much no matter what. Look at that kick.
All right, here we go, bottom lane. Flash into the kick to set things up on to Smoothie.
Coming in a ward. Coming in. I'm TP. I'm here. We killed Xayah. We win, guys. We win. Kill this guy. Got him. Nice. Good shit. Kill him. We're going to ulti. I'm going to ulti. Nice.
Contractz on the back end, trying to escape. 2 men knocked up into the air. The silence is down, and so is High, as Contractz will be thrown under the bus as well. Matt taken down before we can do much of anything. The same for Lourlo. Golden Guardians now 3 versus 5. The damage coming through. Deftly going to be rooted up and taken down as well.